Hello children, in this video we will be beginning with the sixth chapter in geography, population. Population is very necessary from the point of view of a nation's progress. So in this lesson we will learn about population of India and Brazil. Now if you are looking at this map, you can see the population distribution and population density. India's population is around 121 crores. According to the census that was done in 2011, India is the second most populous country in the world and it occupies only 2.41% of the land area of the world, whereas it supports 17.5% of the world's population. India's average population density is 382 persons per square kilometer as per 2011 census. So that means the land that we are having as India is smaller than the amount of population that is there, and continuously as the years go on, the population is increasing. In India, population is very unevenly distributed. If you can see in the map, in the dotted map, you can see that the amount of population is mostly distributed around the North Indian plains because we have the rivers and fertile land there. Physiography, climate and different type of roles play an important role in the distribution of population. So due to fertile land, plain land and availability of water, human settlements have been established in these parts for many centuries. So due to farming, industries and trade, the proportion of the population got concentrated in few places. For example, the North Indian plains of our country, that is Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai, Pune, Bengaluru, Chennai, etc. So, for the contrary, in mountainous regions or the dry desert areas, dense forest areas, the density is sparse because of inaccessibility of or absence of facilities and tough life. So, when you look at this map, you can see in the population distribution, in the plains, okay, that is towards the north of India, there is a lot of population basically because of fertile lands and availability of fresh water. And as you go towards the north, towards Kashmir and the northeastern side, you can see that the population is very sparse, that is very less. And in between the central, okay, the central part of India and South India, we are having moderate population. In the density, if you see, you can get a clear picture of the population. The darkest orange shows more population. That is towards the north, that is the Great Indian Plains, and towards the peninsular, okay, the tapering of the peninsular region, we have more population and very less population towards the north and the northeast. Now let's learn more about the population of Brazil. So Brazil is the most populated country in the South American continent with a population of around 19 crores. So their census was taken place in 2010, that was the end of the decade, whereas Indian census takes place at the beginning of a decade, that is 2011. So that means in India we will be having the census in the next year, that is 2021. So the census of Brazil was taken in 2010. So according to that census, it ranks 5th in the world. It is also the 5th in the world with respect to area. So if you compare with India, okay, that is Brazil with India, Brazil is a vast land as compared to the population. And Brazil occupies 5.6% of the world's total land, that is much more land than India, and has 2.78% of world's total population. Therefore, the density of population is around 23 persons per square kilometer. So if you compare this with India, the population is not less, but what is the problem is that Brazil is a vast country and most of their population is mostly concentrated towards the eastern side, okay, which is a plain area. Why? Because most of the country is covered with highlands and the marshy lands, and especially the rainforest. The distribution of population is very uneven, okay. It is similar with India. Even in India, if you can see that towards the northern and towards the southern side we had more population. It is because of climate and various facilities that is available. Even in Brazil, the population is very unevenly distributed. So the majority of Brazilians have concentrated within 300 kilometers of the eastern coastal areas, okay, towards the North and the South Atlantic Ocean. So, which is also called as the coastal lowlands. Therefore, agriculture and industries have flourished very well here because more population is there and they also have the coastal plains. So, as a higher density of population is found here, on the other lands, okay, that is the above part or the interior part of Brazil, the Amazon basin is very sparsely populated. Unfavorable climate, heavy rainfall, accessibility and dense forests are the barriers of development of human settlements here. Therefore, settlements occur only in few places in the Amazon basin. The central and western part of Brazil is less populated. The density of population in the highlands of Brazil is moderate. So in the map, if you see, this is the eastern side, okay, that is the coastal low-lying areas. So here you can see the concentration of population is more, okay. So as you go into the interior parts of Brazil, you can see it's very sparse. Here we have the highlands, okay, here we have the escarpments, then we have the pantanals, the rainforest, so due to which it becomes very impossible for civilization. Similarly, you can see in this map as well, that is showing you clearly the density of population. The light green ones is showing the less population in this area, whereas this area, that is Sao Paulo, is having the highest number of population. Now here children, you can see population composition between India and Brazil. So this is a line map. So if we see this line map of Brazil, you can see it is a straight line, okay, towards above 1000, and as you see in 2001 the population is going higher, okay. So here we are going to see the sex ratio of India and Brazil, that is number of female per thousand males. So in Brazil, if you see in 2001, okay, till 2001 it was lower. So as we went ahead with the years till 2011, that was a census that was done till then, the population or the sex ratio has risen even more. So now when we compare it with India and Brazil, India's sex ratio is in 2000 or in 1961, if you can see here, it is around 940, okay. Then it has gone down in 1971, and then in 1961 it has risen, there is a curve there. Then in 1991 it has again fallen down. Then after that you can see the sex ratio has risen. But when you compare this, that is India's sex ratio with Brazil's sex ratio, it is very different, okay. If you see in 1961, it is around 1000 10. Okay, it is in between 1020 and 1000. So in Brazil it is very much higher than India. Okay, in India it was around 940 and in Brazil at that time it was around 1010. As it went ahead in years, it has risen even more. So for India to reach at that level will take many years, and that needs education. Okay, like we have so many schemes taken out by the government, that is Save Girl, Teach Girl. It is very necessary. So the sex ratio of Brazil has been more than 1000 since decades. You can see 1961, 1971, 1991, okay, 2001. Then from there on it has increased. Okay, it has gone higher. So considering the sex ratio of Brazil, the number of women have considerably increased than men since 2001. In India, men outnumber women. It is opposite of Brazil. Okay, here men are higher than the women. So in India, we see a fluctuations in the sex ratio since few decades. Okay, that means it's going higher. The curve is going higher and coming down. But there is no huge differences. It is very similar to what it was in 1961. Only in 2011 you can see a little bit of higher ratio. There has been a slight increase in the sex ratio after the year 1991. Okay, before that it was always lower, and still today it is lower. It is very necessary that the sex ratio should be equal to the males in the country. Next we'll see the age and sex pyramid. So in this, what exactly you're going to learn is the amount of men and women in the country. Okay, so in this, if you see the considering the age of the population, Brazil's population is getting slowly older, but in India the situation is different. The proportion of youth in India is more. This means India has a higher working population. So if you are looking at this graph here, you can see the blue line shows the men and the pink one shows the females. So when you go down to 04, okay, we'll compare this with India and Brazil. So if you see the lower parts, in India we have more of the young people, okay, and in Brazil it is lesser. So that means what? As years go by, Brazil will have more of old people, okay, that is non-working people, non-working age group. So because India is having more of young people or young youth in the country, so the future of India is going to be more better. Why? The working population will increase, and so the economy will also increase. So that is a good result for India. Next is the population growth rate. The rate of growth of population has reduced considerably in Brazil. However, this is not the condition in India. In 2001 to 2011, India's population increased by 18.2 crores. India's population growth rate was higher till 1971. Then this rate stabilized. The rate of population growth is now declining, but the population is still growing. It is observed that in Brazil, the rate of growth is declining and Brazil's population may not increase in the next 2 decades. Now let's have a look at this line graph. Now this is the graph for Brazil and this for India. The pink line shows the growth and the decreasing of population. Now in this, the years are given down here: 1960, 70, 80, 90 and 2000. So if we look at Brazil, in 1960 you can see the population was higher at around 3.0, whereas in India in 1961 it was around 2. Okay, so as years have passed by, the population in Brazil is decreasing, but it is opposite in India. It has always been increasing. Okay, you can see, but here in 2011, okay, it is decreasing, but still the growth of population hasn't stopped, whereas in Brazil the population growth has stopped and it has decreased. It is not increasing, and even in the future it is going to decrease even more. Now we have the life expectancy. So children, an increase in life expectancy is an indicator of development of that particular society. Improvement in medical facilities, progress in medical field, access to nutritious food leads to increase in average life expectancy. In most of the developing countries, life expectancy is still less, but with socio-economic development, it is increasing. So in this graph, it is showing about the life expectancy of India and Brazil. So what is the actual meaning of life expectancy? That means in a particular country, what is the last age after which the individual dies? Okay, so in India, if you see in 1960, okay, here in 1960 it was around 41. The age was around 41. That is very, very less. And here the year is also very deep down into the history. So as the years have passed on, you can see it has grown from 41 to 48 in 1970 to 19 in 1980 it has grown to 54, and then it has gone up to 58. So here if you compare this with Brazil, okay, so in 2016 the life expectancy in India is 68. That means a person can live up to 68 years of his life in India. Okay, and in Brazil a person can live up to 75 years of his life. Now children, what and how does this happen? This is mainly because of medical facilities and nutrition that one gets from food. Okay, so the increase in age shows the growth or the progress of a particular country. Now if you compare this with Brazil, India's age with Brazil, it is very high. It is around 75 in 2016, whereas in India it is around 68. So the increase in age shows the progress in medical facilities as well as in the nutritious food that a person gets, and even the lifestyle of that particular person. So all these things are necessary for the nation's progress economically as well as socially. So here we have the literacy rate. How much is a individual educated? Does the person know to read and write? Okay, so let's have a look at the line graph of India and Brazil. In 1961, okay, 1981, if you see at the Brazil's literacy rate, it is around 74.6, whereas in India in 1981 it is around 40.8. So we are very low down in the literacy rate. Let's come to the present age, that is around 2016. In Brazil it is around 92.6, whereas in India it is 72.2. It is not very bad, but still the growth has to take place. So literacy rate is very important in today's fast moving life and globalized world, as education is everything. It is not only related to the progress of the country as well as the socio-economic and political reasons. So let's study the graph in the middle years. In 1991, The literacy rate in Brazil was around 80. Then it moved down to 86.4. Then in the next decade it was around 91.4. Similarly, if you see here, in India it was around 40.8 in the beginning, that is 1981. Then in the next decade it is around 48.2. So you can see there is a jump in the literacy rate because of education being taken very seriously in the country. Next it went on to 61.0 in 2001, and then to 69.3 in 2011, and finally in 2016 it is around 72.2. So you can see that it is increasing, but the pace of increasing level is very slow as compared to Brazil. In 2016 it was standing at the percent of 92.6, that is in Brazil, whereas it is 72.2 in India. So we are a bit far away from the country, that is Brazil, but still we are increasing, and it should increase because it shows the progress of a particular country. Okay children, with this we have now completed with the explanation. Thank you for listening. Take care.